Hola, galleras. So I was interested recently. Someone brought to me an opinion about, or a question more so, about appropriation. Appropriation is one of these really interesting things because it's like two parts. One is typically more kind of an ignorance that someone doesn't know, they just don't know. Like I oftentimes tell people, you really don't have to typically learn things until you have to learn them. And then two is just a straight up just like disrespect and awfulness, really, which is you're purposely doing it. I think a lot of times if you're celebrating a culture while a culture is celebrating itself, there's not really a huge issue. Like it's a part of a festival. It's like Day of the Dead. Like if you celebrate Day of the Dead and there's a huge festival going on, you paint your face and you go and enjoy yourself and so on, then like it makes sense. It's once you start using it as like a costume kind of silliness as a so it's kind of like Kwanzaa or like I said, Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, or Chinese New Year, or any of these things. Like you can easily enjoy them and celebrate them, but the key is to not try and make them not try and like do things with them without acknowledging them, I guess, in a lot of ways. Like there's this whole weird aspect of like people trying to kind of just take something and then go, oh, that's for the people now. And it's like, but it's, I mean, it is and it isn't. Like there is a certain aspect of like disrespect that goes on with pretending like it doesn't matter that it belongs to a culture of people and so on and so forth. So it's kind of strange. It's like the whole Ariel thing that's going on. Like some crazy racist said, well, what if we like did like an all white cast of Roots? And it's like, have you seen Roots? Do you know what that is? It's not to be what you think it means or what it represents or so on and so forth. It's just kind of strange. It's this weird aspect. You see it a lot with art and music, with appropriation and stuff like that, where like people suddenly take on like this kind of like style or affectation, the way they speak, the way they move, rolling your R's unnecessarily, like as a joke or something of that nature. It's such a, and it's weird because like when you try to explain it to people who don't necessarily live in that culture, like they think it's either silly or you're making a big deal out of nothing. But it's like the biggest problem I run across with cultural appropriation is there's a lot of celebration of the people who do it, but not a lot of celebration of the people whose culture it's actually a part of. That's where the disconnect happens. I guess in conclusion, it's not so much stay in your lane, but it's more acknowledge where things come from. Give kind of, if you want to be a part of like a thing that is differently cultured than what you are during a celebration or in some type of music or whatever, perhaps centering yourself in it is probably not the best way to go. But working alongside the people who are actually involved with it will probably give you more insight and more appreciation of where it comes from. Like it's not insanely difficult to then just, you love jazz music from the 70s, so you then want to be a part of this whole kind of scene and whatnot. So the idea would be you don't make an all exclusionary club of people who aren't involved with jazz music. Which is to say, don't do something that is historically black and not include black people in any facet. Don't do something that's historically Latino and not include Latin people. Don't do it with Asian people and not include Asian people. I'd say it about white people, but like white people are in everything, so it doesn't really change, you know, like you don't oftentimes find that to be the case for them. You know, which I know people don't necessarily always like as a trash truck. People don't always necessarily like the way to think about that, but it's like, you know, I would not do something that is historically Irish and then not include Irish people. But, you know, I feel like whiteness is more kind of a blanket statement as opposed to like a lot of other cultures where like it's not.